Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Again, welcome to our EPC workshop. This is the third one on a series, and we'll have two more, inshallah. The purpose of this workshop is to introduce you. First two were on the topic itself. We explained what the topic is, and one of our past participants, Fatima, and she did the first workshop. And if you go to our website, epc.mafic.org, and in that website, let me share with you quickly where it is, so that in case those of you are not here, you know where to go and how to look for this, where to get this workshop, inshallah. So let me see if I can go. Hold on. So I am back. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this screen, if you go, this is a little bit crowded, but this EPC 22 option that has most of the information that you need to submit this year's, your submission. So this video, quick video, will give you an idea if you want to make a video multimedia presentation. Inshallah, you can know that how the video could, what type of information that you can include. So this is explaining what this year's topic is. And if you go down this page, then you'll see that we have essays, speech, poster, multimedia, all of this from grade 1 to 12. And the event will be on 15th, inshallah, at the Anath Center. You know the Anath Center, right? Safwan and Sama and Adia. Yeah, you go there regularly. So by 7th, inshallah, you have to submit it online. So if you go to the website, this is the submission button that you use to submit your content. So one thing I want to mention here, that this is the guidelines that you need to look at closely, so that you know what the prompt of the topics that you have, or the different prompts for. This is for the elementary school, the first one. And as you know, each level has 2 grades, grade 1 and grade 2. And our elementary is not like the grade 1 to 5. We are differentiating with, like putting it on a bin, like 2 grades in each level. So 1, 2 is level 1, 3, 4 is level 2, and 5, 6 in level 3, and so on. So if this information you need it to know the prompt, so that you can work on your essay, inshallah. And one more information you need to know in terms of multimedia, there are some outline. And one information you need to know, that your page limitation, that might be important for you to know. And for the speech time, we have some tentative speech time here. And you need to follow the guidelines closely, because you need to look at that what the rubrics are, and rubrics that you can find it in our website. The same thing, you can go from here, or you can go to the top. If you forget, just here, EPC rubric. Here you see that how your essays will be graded. It will be graded based on your ideas, or, what are you talking about, what the content is, and about this is your true understanding of the topic itself, and how you articulate this thing, and you organize things in a coherent fashion, so that there is a continuity there, and there is no discontinuity, or you see that things are flowing smoothly, inshallah. And the word choice and the sentence fluency and the grammar, those type of things, that is the third criteria will be used to grade your essays. And the fourth one is work site. And this is the one many students, for level 1 and 2, this is not important, but the higher grade, it is very important to know how you cite your work, because whenever you are using any references, book or any websites, you need to refer to this in your essay, inshallah. So with this, I think today's workshop, as I just mentioned, that we are so happy to have and glad to have Adam Ahmad to be our instructor today, inshallah. And let me stop this thing. And he, as I said at the beginning, mashallah, he had participated from many years in EPC, and he can share with you that how did it help him. But we were so happy to see him that every year he was on the top, mashallah, in the speech as well as in the writing. And he is
not every year, but sometimes.
Most of the year. If I recall, I have all the essay books here, so I can see. So inshallah, with that, he's going University of UMGC. He's doing his undergrad in business. Inshallah, with further prolonging these things, I turn to Adam. Inshallah, we are recording it, so it will be available for those who are not here. Jazakallah khair, Adam, for sharing your time with us and benefiting the kids in how to write an essay, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. Jazakallah khair, Brother Mustafa. Okay, Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to this workshop. As you can see, inshallah, our topic today is going to be brainstorming and laying out the foundation of an essay. But before we start, can we do a quick introduction since we have a small group here? So if everyone can just maybe tell us your name, what grade you're in, and where you're from. I can start. My name is Adam Ahmad. I'm from Maryland, and I'm currently in college. But maybe Adyan, can you start? Tell us what grade you're in and where you're from. Are you there? Okay, let's go. Safwan, are you there? Can you share with us?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
My name's Safwan and I'm in 3rd grade.
Okay, very good. And then Sama, can you, what grade are you in?
I'm in 1st grade and my name's Sama.
Very good. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for joining us today. So, and this workshop is also being recorded, so people who are going to come later on, inshallah, will be able to watch it and benefit, hopefully. Okay, bismillah. So like I mentioned, 1 second here. So like I mentioned, this workshop is going to be 2 parts. The first part is going to be brainstorming your ideas, right? And then the second part is going to be taking those ideas and putting them into writing and putting them into a way that, you can easily, other people who are reading your essays can easily understand your ideas and be able to get a better picture of what you're trying to say based on that. So, were you guys attending the last session on introducing the topic? Were any of you there? Yes, you were there? Okay, very good, Sama. If everyone else here, if you guys could turn your videos on just so that I'm not just talking to myself, I would appreciate that.
No, she came to the first one. She didn't come to the second one.
Oh, okay. Were you at either one?
I came at the first one too.
Okay, very good. Well, which one was that? The first one was introducing the theme?
No, I think it was about mental health.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. So let's as you guys know, the EPC topic for this year 2022 is Islam and mental health, keeping a sound mind and a sound faith. So what I'm going to do today is not necessarily talk about that topic specifically, and the reason is that everyone's going to have their own ideas. Everyone's going to have their own way to, their own understanding of the topic and their own interpretation, right? And so that's for each person to figure out what they want to write about, because there's various different different ways you could understand your topic. There's various different ways that you could write about something. And so what we're going to do is actually just talk about how to come up with those ideas, how to put them into writing, and then use that format and transfer it over to this specific topic for EPC. And that way you can understand how to write your specific EPC essay. But we're going to start with brainstorming. And so the first question we're going to ask is, what is brainstorming? And brainstorming very simply means coming up with ideas and then transferring those ideas into writing, transferring those ideas from your brain into a format that you can read and other people can read. So brainstorming is one of the first stages in the pre-writing process, which is before you start writing, there's some steps you're going to take, some things you're going to do in order to understand your topic better. And the first step, the first thing you should do is make sure you understand what your what the essay prompt or what your question is, right? So for example, this year EPC 2022, for level 1, the question is, write a letter to your loved one describing a time when you had a problem, how it made you feel, and how you handled it, right? That's for grades 1 and 2. For grades 3 and 4, how do the problems you face affect your mind, and what can you do to stay positive while facing these problems? How did the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam teach you to stay positive while in a situation like this? And then so on, the middle school and high school also have their own unique prompts. But the first step and the most important step is to make sure you understand the question clearly, right? And you can talk to your parents, talk to someone, your teachers, make sure you understand what this question is asking, because before you start coming up with ideas, you want to make sure that what you're coming up with is relevant and pertinent to this topic. So the first step is really just understand the topic, make sure there's no words you don't understand, make sure everything you read is in the right, every word that's here you understand properly, basically is what I'm trying to say. But after you do that, what you're going to want to do is, as you can see here, getting all your ideas out. So once you've understood the topic, now what you're going to want to do is anything that comes to your mind about this topic, you're going to want to write it down. Anything that you can think of. Really, at this point, it's really anything, right? You don't have to worry about if it's a good idea, if it's a bad idea. Whatever you can think of, whatever you can come up with, you're going to want to write that down. And what this is going to do is it allows you that, let's say you come up with an idea that's not that good, it's not that relevant, it's not that important, you're still going to write it down, because later on you might say, oh, that bad idea that I came up with, it leads to a better idea, or it leads to something that actually does matter, right? So it's really important. Just make sure you write everything down, and don't leave anything out in the brainstorming process. So there's two main ways that you can brainstorm, and we'll go over them real quickly, inshallah. The first way is a brain dump, and it's also called free writing. So what you want to do is you're going to set a timer for yourself for a few minutes, and what you're going to do is take out a pencil and paper, or maybe type it on your computer or whatever you have. Think of all the topics, all the ideas, everything that comes to your mind, and write it down. It could be a word, it could be a story, it could be a quote that you remember. Whatever comes to your mind about this topic, you could even draw a picture if you want, but anything that comes to you, just write it until the timer is finished, right? And the important part, once again, I'm going to say it, any idea that comes to your mind, you have to write it down. Don't leave anything out because you think it's not a good idea or something, because what you're going to see is later on, you'll be able to use those bad ideas to come up with good ideas. The second main way that you can brainstorm is called a word web or mind mapping. And what this is as you can see in this little diagram on the right, is that you're going to write your topic or your main idea in this middle box over here, right? And then what you're going to do is that main topic or that main idea is going to branch out to different ideas. So then you're going to be able to come up with, it's different words, different ideas that you can come up with that are linked to that main topic that you're talking about, right? So let's say, for example, you were talking about justice, right? Just for argument's sake. Now you can come up with different words or different things. Maybe you'll say equality, maybe you'll say other words that relate to that. And then those words that are being related to it, there are other words and there are other ideas that relate to those to support that main idea, right? So you're going to end up creating something like a big map that will help you, once again, kind of see how all these ideas are connected and how they come together. Okay, so moving on. Yes, so some quick tips for brainstorming, inshallah. Like I mentioned, you understand the prompt first. Make sure you understand what the question is. Secondly, make sure you don't leave anything out. Again, like I mentioned, the more you can write, the better it is, the more ideas you're going to be able to come up with. But thirdly is that if you can't come up with ideas, leave it and come back to it later. Sometimes you'll read the question, what you're supposed to be writing about, and you can't think of anything, right? You're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing's coming to your brain, right? At that point, I think the best thing, if you really can't think of anything, you just go around, like leave this prompt aside, go around, do something else, go spend your time doing something else, and then come back to it with a fresh brain, come back to it with a fresh mind. And what you'll see is you might be able to come up with ideas that you didn't think of before, right? Or you might see it from a new perspective that you weren't thinking of. And I like to think of it, you know how there's those like find the object pictures where there's a bunch of small objects on the side that you have to look for in this big picture. So sometimes you'll be looking, you can't find something, but then when you look away and you look back, you see it right away, right? Because again, you're getting a fresh look at it and a new perspective, and that's going to help you come up with new ideas that you hadn't thought about before. And lastly, make sure you do not procrastinate. Right now we have about a month or so before the essay is due on January 7th. So make sure you don't wait until the last day or two to start writing your essay, because if you do, you're not going to be able to let your ideas sit. You're not going to be able to wait until if you can't come up with something, you're not going to have time to leave it alone and come back to it. You're not going to have time to be able to review your writing and go through a first draft or second draft. So make sure you set aside plenty of time that you can spend to both come up with ideas and then use those ideas to write your essay. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and try some brainstorming if you guys can do that. What I want you guys to do, as you can see, there's two essay prompts on the right. The first one is, why is it important to remain patient during times of difficulty? And the second one is, should kids spend their time playing sports and doing outdoor recreational activity? So how many of us are joining us now? We have Adian, Ifat is joining us, Safwan and Sama. If you guys can take a few minutes, if you have a pen and paper, and write down all the thoughts that come to your mind on these, pick one of these topics firstly. So you can pick either number one or number two, both are okay. And just write down everything you can think of about this topic. So you're just doing free writing, like I mentioned. Whatever ideas you have about that topic, just write it down, and then we'll see what you guys can come up with. Is that okay? Everyone got that?
Can I use a laptop?
Sure, you can use a laptop. Everyone else good? Any questions about this? No? All right, so if you guys are good with that, then if you guys can spend a few minutes with that, and then we'll come back in a few minutes and see what kind of ideas you guys could come up with.
I'm running a chat. My laptop's not working.
Okay, that's fine. Sama, is that good? Can you write down some ideas that you can come up with? What was that?
I said yes.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, that's about time. Are you guys able to come up with some ideas? Does anyone want to start? Share some ideas they came up with? Safwan, why don't you tell us your ideas? Why don't you just unmute and tell us?
I chose two. Kids should spend their time playing sports and being outdoors because they'll be healthy and strong, ready
Okay.
to run far and be healthy and less chance of disease. I don't know how to spell disease, so.
That's fine. That's great. Yeah, that's the thing. So just write anything that comes to your mind, right? You don't know how to spell something, it's fine. Just write it down and you can figure it out later. That's great. Great job, Safwan. Anyone else want to share? Someone, you want to tell us some ideas you came up with?
I didn't come up any ideas.
Okay, that's fine too. That's fine. What about Adyan? Are you joining us? Were you able to come up with any ideas?
I'm not done yet.
Okay, that's fine. Take your time. And then Ifat, are you also joining us competing this year, or?
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not done? All right, I'll give you guys like another minute or two, and then we'll come back to it, inshallah. So keep writing, come up with ideas.
I just idle time. I just put
Okay.
it off.
That's fine.
Now it is on.
Okay, so Ifat or not Safwan, Adyan, were you guys able to come up with any ideas you guys can share? You guys there?
Yeah.
Okay, any ideas you came up with, you're able to come up with? Or Sama, too, any ideas you came up with?
I came up with one idea. Two think happy thought.
Say it one more time.
Two think happy thought.
To think happy thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. What about Ifat or Adyan? You guys were able to come up with anything? All right, if not, we'll just continue, inshallah.
I wrote in the chat box.
Okay, can you share with us on the microphone?
Okay. Having patience help us to slow down our thinking. When we go through difficult times, our perspective changes and sometimes we take wrong decision.
To reach your goals, it's important to remain patient during times of difficulty.
Excellent, excellent. Those are great ideas, definitely. And if I can ask, what grade you're in, and what grade
I'm
Adyan is in?
8th grade.
8th grade, and what grade is Adyan in?
5th.
5th. Okay, Adyan, were you able to come up with any ideas? If not, it's fine. We'll keep going. No? Yes? Maybe?
Not really.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, like I said, it can take some time sometimes, right? Maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes isn't enough, but always just, you can leave it, you can come back to it, you can think about it, talk to other people about it. Just come up with as many ideas as you can about the topic, right? And so when you're writing for EPC, you're going to be writing about mental health, right? So come up with as many ideas as you can. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay, you have more ideas or?
Yeah. So if you when it's different, then you could when it's something is difficult and you need to be patient because you could break something and you can lose your temper.
Right, absolutely. That's really important. Great job. Was that Adyan speaking?
No.
Who's this? Ifat?
No, Raida.
Okay, Raida, mashallah, another student joining us. What grade are you in?
3rd.
3rd grade. Okay, mashallah. All right. So that's great. That's great. Yeah, and once again, guys, take your time thinking about it, especially on the EPC topic. Take your time and talk to other people. Try to come up with as many ideas as you can. But once we finish those ideas, then we move on to writing the essay, right? And this is the second part. And the second one here of mind mapping, we'll leave that one out for now. But know that is also an option if you want to make a mind map, see how your ideas relate to each other. You can definitely do that as well to help you come up with more ideas. But the second part of this our presentation today is writing the essay. Right now you came up with all your ideas. Now it's time to put them into an essay. And an essay is a short, cohesive writing on a single subject. Right? Cohesive means that it all sticks together. It all makes sense together, right? You're not writing about, first you start writing about basketball, then you go switch to why you like something else. And no, you're writing on a single topic that you were given, and you're answering that question, staying within that topic, and writing so that everything makes sense with each other. Usually at a higher level, and this is more for the, elementary, but also middle and high school mainly, your essay is going to have 3 main parts. There's your introduction, where you introduce what you're going to be talking about. Then there's the body of your essay, where you're actually going to talk about it. And then there's the conclusion, where you wrap things up. Now, it's really important to stay organized in this way because it helps the reader understand your essay and understand your thoughts and ideas, right? If you just jump straight into your explanation, jump straight into your body, your reader didn't have time to familiarize with your subject, or they didn't have time to understand what you're exactly talking about, and it can be confusing at first, right? Likewise, if you end without a conclusion, they might be like, okay, and how are these ideas related to each other, or how does this all come together, right? So it's important to have all 3 of these in this order so that your writing makes sense together and the reader understands what you're trying to say. Okay, before we move on, I want to show you this is a part of the judging rubric, like Brother Mustafi's mentioned. As you can see, this number 1 here is about your ideas, right? That's what you're coming up with in your brainstorming. That the ideas show a complete understanding of the topic, the thesis position is clear, details support the thesis. I want to talk about a little bit about what this thesis is. But this is the first part, right? Coming up with good ideas that are related to the topic. But the second part is, just like I mentioned, organization, right? As you can see here, essay has at least 3 main parts: introduction, body, and conclusion, right? So once again, it's really important, and the judges are going to be looking for this when you guys submit your essays. Do you have an introduction? Do you have a body? And do you have a conclusion? And we're going to go into a little more detail of what each one of these is, but keep in mind that it's important to be organized in that fashion and keep it in that order. Okay, firstly is the introduction. And what your introduction is basically just introducing your reader to the topic and why this topic is important, right? So if you were talking about, like I mentioned, patience, you might say that patience is really important. It's one of the core fundamental values in Islam, for example. You might give a different reason, you might give an explanation, but it's important to introduce your reader to not only the topic, but also what you're going to be talking about in that essay. And so what you're going to do is just write about very entry level what your topic is, why you're writing about it, and what you're going to talk about in that essay. Now, the next part is the hook. Now, a hook is basically the first sentence of your introduction that will grab the reader's attention, right? Maybe it's it's a statistic that's really surprising or startling statistic. Maybe it's the definition of one of the words, right? Maybe if you're writing about mental health, you could write, what is mental health, right? A definition of that, or a question that you ask your reader. Now, some people will say you should have a hook. Some people say you shouldn't have a hook. But what it's going to come down to is basically, does that hook help your thesis, and does that hook help your ideas that you're writing about, or is it just killing space or distraction on the topic? And if it's the second one, then you shouldn't use it. But if it does support your topic and it does support your argument, then it's definitely a great idea to include that. Okay, now we're going to talk quickly about the thesis statement. Now, the thesis statement is the last sentence of your introduction. And what the thesis statement does is explains to the reader what's the point. What's the point of what you're writing? And so usually once you have you've brainstormed your ideas, you're going to narrow it down to a few main ideas, usually 3 main ideas. If you're writing at a middle or high school level, you're usually going to come up with 3 main ideas that you're going to be talking about in that essay. Now, what you're going to do in your thesis statement is list out those ideas. It doesn't necessarily have to be like firstly, secondly, thirdly, but this statement is like a sentence or 2 that describes your ideas. It summarizes your ideas and what you're going to be writing about in that essay. And basically, what's your stance on this topic, right? So an example is here. Reading develops a child's mind by fostering comprehension skills, increasing vocabulary, and exposing them to new worlds they might not otherwise encounter. This is an example of a thesis statement. So, we can guess the prompt was, is it important for children to read, for example, right? So now you'll say, yes, it's important because reading does, the first idea, fostering comprehension skills. The second idea, increasing vocabulary. And then the third idea, exposing them to new worlds, right? So all of your ideas have to be summarized in 1 statement or 2 that goes at the end of the introduction. That's the last sentence of your introduction. And again, it should answer the question, what's the point of your essay? Why are you writing this essay? And like I showed you in the grading rubric, the judges are going to be looking for that thesis statement. Do you have 1 summary statement that describes what you're going to be writing about in that essay? Okay, then we move on to the body paragraphs. And the body paragraphs are the main part of your essay. It's usually three body paragraphs. Like I mentioned, there's usually around 3 main ideas. You can have 2 if it's going to take more time or more space to describe, or maybe 4 if they're smaller ideas. But usually around 3 main ideas. And what's important is that there's 1 idea per paragraph. Okay, so each paragraph, what you're doing is stating your first idea, and then in that paragraph you can describe what it is, come up with references or quotes, and making sure that you are sticking to this 1 idea per paragraph. What you really want to avoid is writing at the end of your first paragraph you'll say, or at the end of your first body paragraph you'll write, in the next paragraph we're going to talk about this. No, that's not relevant. This 1 paragraph has 1 idea in it, right? Being patient is important because like one of you had mentioned, it prevents you from breaking things, right? Then you can go into a little more discussion of why that is. But what you don't want to do is come up with a bunch of ideas and stick them all in the same paragraph. what you want to do is one idea per paragraph, then the next paragraph will have the next idea. Now, the lastly here is very quickly the topic sentence. So exactly just like the sentence I just meant, being patient does X, Y, Z. What the topic sentence is the first sentence of each paragraph. And what you're going to do is that topic sentence should be your main idea for that paragraph, right? There's one idea per paragraph, and now you're having one sentence that describes what's in that paragraph. And so your topic sentence is basically, it's like a mini thesis statement to think about it for each body paragraph. What you're doing is describing what you're going to be talking about in that paragraph. Okay, then finally you move on to the conclusion. And now what the conclusion is summarizing everything you've said. But what's important is that you don't just repeat word for word what was already said, right? You don't just copy paste your thesis statement again and paste it. But what you're doing in your conclusion is wrapping up your ideas, summarizing each main idea, but with a new wording, with a new perspective on it, and basically showing the reader how it all fits together to support the question and support your thesis statement. What the second thing that's important with the conclusion is that you're not bringing up new ideas. Like we mentioned, each body paragraph has one idea, and that's where the ideas are, right? So your conclusion, you're just summarizing what was already said. You're not coming up with new ideas or bringing anything new to that essay. Okay, any questions so far, by the way, on the three main parts of the essay? Okay, let's keep going then. Okay, next we're going to talk about referencing your ideas. And what makes an essay different than something more like academically based, like a research paper or something, is that in essay, you are writing your own ideas mainly. But, and when you're doing a research paper, for example, it's something they do in higher levels in schools and stuff. What you're doing there is just researching a specific topic and just grabbing, facts, statistics, quotes, and then presenting those together. But what you're doing in an essay is presenting your own ideas. And in addition to that, showing your reader that this is why I think this is, or this is why this topic is important, and using those things as references. Those references are basically coming from someone more experienced than you, someone who has experience in the field that you're talking about, and you're saying, hey, I'm writing about this, but you don't have to take my word for it. Look what this person said, right? In our case, we might put an ayah or hadith, like, look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about this topic, or look what the Prophet said about this topic, right? So it's important that you do put these references, because then the reader can say, oh, wow, you know what, you're right. That is really important. And like it says here, a reference can be an ayah or hadith, like we mentioned. It can be a quote from a famous person. It can be a study, a poll, or a statistic, something, this percent of people do this, or that percentage of people do that. But what's important is keep that reference related to the topic. Make sure that it's helping you and helping your idea and helping your position, right? You, of course, don't want to bring something opposite to what you're trying to say, because then the reader's going to be like, wait a second, you're saying this, but you're saying this person says that, and now it's confusing, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're trying to say is related to the topic and it's helping what you're trying to say. Okay, once again, we're going to take a quick look at another part of the rubric here. That essays supported, and this is the top, right? This is the best score you can get at the second to the left box here. So it says essay supported with references for all or most points. References clear, references on separate page and presented neatly, right? So again, like I mentioned, you're going to have your own ideas, but what's important is that you say, these ideas aren't only coming from me, there's someone more important that said the same thing. And that way you can present some, you make your argument look more important, right? And so for high school, you need at least 5 references or citations. For middle school, this would be 3. For elementary, you can put at least 2. And with these references, what you do have to do is at the end of your essay, you have like links or something to where you got that reference from. We won't be going into detail about that, but it's called the APA format. You can easily Google that and hopefully find some information on that. But again, very important to have references in your essay to prove what you're saying is true, to show how important what you're saying is. Now, there are two extremes. Some people might put way too many references, and that's not good either. You don't want to drown out your own voice with everything that other people have said. You have to give your own ideas, but at the same time, it can't exclusively be your own ideas. You have to be able to, you know, go back and say, like I said, you go back and say, you know what, this person has said this person has said that. That's why what I'm saying is important. Okay, we're almost done here, inshallah. I just have one or two more slides. Yes, so now very quickly, how do you organize these thoughts and your ideas into an essay format, right? You've come up with your ideas. We ran a quick trial run earlier today on brainstorming, but hopefully you'll be able to come up with a lot more ideas. Your ideas are going to be scattered. They're going to be all over the place. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. But now what you have to do is start filtering those ideas out, right? Now you have to say, okay, I have 3 main points that I want to say about this topic, right? And so what you're going to do is slowly see, how are some of these ideas related to each other? How can I group some of these ideas up, right, into one main idea? And or you're going to say, you know what, this idea is not that relevant. This one's not that important. Let me get rid of it. I like to think of brainstorming as it's like the job interview process, right? At first, a lot of people are going to apply. A lot of people are interested. But then in the later stages, once there's interviews and there's, you know, questions asked and you run, you know, tests, now you see, okay, this person is good. This person has these strengths and weaknesses. This person has these, and then you're going to be able to filter out, you know, filter out certain people and select very specific people for the job. Similarly with your ideas, you have a whole list of ideas, right? You did your brainstorming. Now you're going to say, what are my best ideas? What are the strongest arguments I can make to help me support my my topic? Another really important thing is sticking to the topic. Make sure that you're not writing about, you know, your first idea, you know, is related, but then your second idea is only related to the first idea and not related directly back to the topic. You want to make sure that each idea is directly related to the topic, and then under that idea, you have supporting arguments or supporting ideas for the main idea, right? And so, like I said, you're going to take your brainstorm ideas, organize them into an outline of the main ideas, thesis statement, and topic sentences. Let's see. Okay, so now that you have your main ideas, we don't have to do this right now, but what you need to do is make an outline, and this is the format of the outline on the left here. So you're first going to have your topic, right? And again, this topic this year on EPC is about mental health, and each elementary, middle, and high, you have different specific prompts about what your topic is. So you're going to write out your topic, right? Write out your topic at the top. Now you brainstormed all these ideas. You're going to slowly work through them and say, what are the best ideas that I have? Work them into 3 main ideas, preferably 3. Now you have these 3 main ideas. What you're going to do is see, how do all these ideas work together? How can I summarize all these ideas into one sentence, into one statement that's going to describe what my entire essay is talking about? And that's what your thesis statement is, okay? Then you're going to look at, okay, now for each idea, you have a topic sentence. Remember, like I mentioned, each paragraph is going to start with a topic sentence, and write those out. And then under those, you have your supporting points. So how did the, you know, maybe it's a reference, maybe it's a fact or something that's supporting your argument, right? It's kind of like proof for what you're saying is true. And then each of those, that's 1, 2, and 3. And then of course, obviously, at the end is the conclusion where you wrap everything up. Yeah, that's pretty much it then, inshallah. Like I said, you guys have still around a month of time. Hopefully some of you have already started. That would be great if you already started thinking of ideas for your paper or started writing it. But these are all some basic guidelines, some format that yeah, I've judged essays previously, and a lot of the times, some of the essays are just the ideas are all scattered, and sometimes they're good ideas, but the problem is that when it's not organized into an essay, the reader is more focusing on you know, trying to understand the organization, and they lose focus of the ideas. So when you have a good organized essay, you can instead focus on the ideas. You can instead focus on, you know, the organization makes sense, so you're able to look at the ideas and you're able to understand them clearly. I hope that all made sense for you guys, inshallah. I know this might have been a little advanced for the elementary students here, but it's still important, right? If you're writing a paper, make sure you first come up with your ideas. Make sure you first, I know for grades 1 and 2, you guys are writing a letter. Make sure you first come up with the ideas, right? You might be writing a story, you might be writing something. Come up with as many ideas as you can. And then you say, I like this one, I don't like this one, this is important, this is not that important, and then write it out. Hopefully this helped. Does anyone have any questions before we conclude here?
Jazakallah khair. Adam, this is, mashallah, this is very good workshop. And I hope that all of you, even for the essay, it will help you also when you, in your school,
Yeah, definitely.
when you write any papers or any, you know, like summary outline. This is such a powerful way of handling essays, mashallah. So anybody has any question for Adam?
Anything we didn't talk about that you want some clarification on, maybe on the topic, anything else?
Ifat, do you have question on the topic?
No.
So do you know what is your topic?
Yeah.
Good. So Adam,
They're all geniuses, mashallah.
Jazakallah khair. So
Yeah.
Adam, you will be available on 15th. You will be available for judging, right? I will send you the, you know, we need help, inshallah, and if you can recruit some more judges.
Yeah, I might be traveling, but I'll email you, inshallah.
But
I'll
if the essays, you can do it, right?
That's just it.
Right, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika. Jazakallah khair, Adam. It is really good.
Okay, well, yeah, jazakallah khair, everyone, for your patience and listening.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.